the Philippines is bracing for its second major storm within days. Super Typhoon Fung Wong is bearing down on the archipelago and is set to make landfall within hours. The superstorm comes just days after Typhoon Kalmaegi battered the country, causing widespread carnage. Authorities are warning that Fung Wong will bring life-threatening storm surges, destructive winds, and flooding.
Typhoon Fung Wong gathering strength over the Philippine Sea. Wind gusts of nearly 200 kilometers per hour. And flooding from storm surges and heavy rain will hit a country still in recovery from another storm. Less than a week ago, Typhoon Kalmaegi sent floodwaters rushing through the towns and cities of Cebu province. Cars and homes were swept away. A nationwide state of emergency declared by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Thursday remains in effect. Some families are still holding wakes for their loved ones. One mourner lost 10 of his relatives.
I was able to swim. I told my family to swim. You will be saved. Just swim and be brave. Keep swimming. They did not hear what I was saying anymore because I could no longer see them.
Exceptionally heavy rainfall from Typhoon Kalmaegi overwhelmed dikes and flood control safeguards, causing rivers to rapidly overflow. With structures damaged and debris still left in place, the destruction from the coming Typhoon Fung Wong could be much worse. Authorities expect more than 200 millimeters of rainfall, with widespread flooding and major river basins likely to overflow. Evacuations are underway as forecasters say the huge footprint of the storm could cover the entire country.
And for more, we're now joined by Mage, a freelance journalist from the Philippines capital, Manila. Ella, this is the second typhoon in just a few days, and this one looks to be even stronger. How are people preparing?
Well, Super Typhoon Fung Wong, or as it's locally known here, Juan, is set to make landfall tonight in the northeastern part of the Philippines with winds packing more than 185 kilometers per hour and is possibly the strongest typhoon this year in the country. In the last 24 to 48 hours, government authorities have preemptively evacuated more than 100,000 Filipinos in areas directly on the path of Fung Wong. Now, this typhoon is being compared to 2013's Typhoon Haiyan, which left thousands of people dead in its wake. We have already seen some reports in local news of howling winds and storm surges happening in low-lying or coastal areas, thus bringing in floods already in their communities. Storm surges are predicted to be as high as 3 meters when this super typhoon comes closer to make landfall. Authorities have been active in communicating about the risks this super typhoon is bringing and is pleading with residents and the public to go to their respective evacuation centers.
The typhoon which battered the country earlier this week left a ton of destruction. Talk a little bit more about how vulnerable that makes people to this storm.
So now there is a sense of urgency for authorities to hasten recovery and rescue of residents still missing during Typhoon Kalmaegi. If you can see satellite images, the size of Fung Wong covers basically the entire Philippines and will bring in more floods and calamities at the tail of Kalmaegi. Residents in Cebu, where more than 200 deaths of Kalmaegi are accounted for, are still hopeful but have become vigilant. They say they have packed go bags to go to evacuation centers, whether they're forced to or not. They say that they are ready to leave behind their homes just so long as they and their loved ones are going to be safe.
Now, you talked a little bit about government preparation, but can you quickly tell us whether people feel that they're being supported by the government right now?
Well, right now, the government has announced a nationwide state of calamity, which will make funds easily available for those areas in need. They have prepositioned food as well as rescuers to go to communities who will need rescuing. Recently, though, Philippines has been rocked by allegations of corruptions involving politicians who are pocketing money for flood control projects. As we can see, these projects are now much needed to mitigate loss of lives and properties caused by flooding brought about by the typhoons.
Ella Mage, freelance journalist in Manila, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's bring in Regis Chapman. He's director of the World Food Program in the Philippines and joins us now from Manila. So the latest Typhoon Fung Wong is bearing down on the Philippines. How are authorities preparing?
Yeah, obviously, as you've just seen, it's a really complicated situation with one storm just a week ago having passed through and caused such levels of destruction. But it's also the Fung Wong will be the 21st storm to impact the Philippines this year. And so this is a country that unfortunately has to deal with these types of situations quite frequently. But as a result, the government here has a very strong disaster management system. And so that system has been gearing up. It has geared up the entire typhoon season. And of course, with Fung Wong on its way, the government and partners are taking many efforts to protect people and to prepare for the storm.
Now, as you mentioned there, the Philippines is no stranger to storms like this, and rescue operations from the first Typhoon Kalmaegi have been suspended. Where does that leave the people who have been affected?
So the people that have been infected, of course, by Kalmaegi are going through quite a lot of challenges right now. You've seen the level of damage and destruction. Again, a lot of assistance has been provided in the impacted areas. But of course, with any event like this, logistics is a major challenge. So just finding and getting to people takes time. It really took some days for the full impact of that storm to really be realized as more and more communities were accessed. And so the government has been providing food and other supplies to help people through these difficult times as those relief efforts have been scaling up. The World Food Program works quite closely with the government to support those efforts. We've been providing logistics support to help make sure that the government's family food packs are able to reach those in need, for example.
Now, of course, the Philippines has been visited by many storms this year. Is that taking a toll on the residents of the Philippines, having to deal with that many natural disasters in such quick order?
Yeah. So again, it's the Philippines is a relatively large country in terms of the going from the north to the south, and what we see is over the course of the season, these storms tend to hit different parts of the country. So if there's one positive of these two rapid successive storms is that they're not directly hitting the same location. So I think while in the central part of the country, people are recovering from Kalmaegi. It's more in the north and the part of the country that is preparing now for Fung Wong. So at the household level, we're not seeing one on top of the next. However, that said, with Kalmaegi, they were just still dealing with the impacts of a 6.9 magnitude earthquake that took place in September. So again, it's not just these storms, but it's also earthquakes, volcanic activities, and a number of other challenges that people here in the Philippines face.
Now, of course, recovery is one of the most important things we need to think about when it comes to these storms. So could you help us understand how the World Food Program is helping people once these typhoons have passed?
So what's really interesting with Kalmaegi with Fung Wong, is that the World Food Program has been working very closely with the Department of Social Welfare and Development to set up systems that actually assist people before the storm hits. And so through what we call anticipatory action, the World Food Program and the government have been providing cash assistance to people that are in the greatest areas of risk with Fung Wong's arrival. So that allows those people to take certain actions, whether it's stocking up on food, protecting their livelihoods assets, so moving fishing boats out of harm's way, for example, or just having the ability to evacuate and go into a shelter. And so over the last several days, we've been providing cash assistance to around 157,000 people through the government's main social assistance program. And so that really helps us make sure that, again, those that are most vulnerable in the most vulnerable areas have the resources to heed the government's warnings and to protect their lives and livelihoods. The other interesting part about that is that when the event does happen, so when Fung Wong does hit and the inevitable destruction and damage, isolation, people being cut off actually occurs, what we know through this type of anticipatory action is that the cost of the eventual response is reduced from the human perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right, that was Regis Chapman from the World Food Program in Manila. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you.